Hi, Joy Olson here, Blockbuster Fundraising. Can you believe it's June? And for those of you whose fiscal year closes out soon, you are probably thinking about a fundraising plan for 2019. And for many of us who are 6 months into 2018, it's time for us to check our fundraising plan to really make sure we are right on target. Okay, well, I read this sensational blog on successful fundraising plans. It's from the Fundraising Authority, and Joe runs the Fundraising Authority, and he's consulted with many nonprofits, and he knows about successful fundraising plans. And he says that many nonprofits, particularly the smaller charities, operate without a fundraising plan. So when someone has an idea for an event or a campaign, these organizations simply put together quickly a committee or a volunteer group and go for it. Hey, they may send out a letter here and there and do some donor meetings, and when the bank account seems to be low, they often go into panic mode and race around trying to find cash to keep the doors open. Well, I've been in a situation where you have to find cash to keep the doors open, and that is definitely not the best way to run your development program. Even if your nonprofit is flush with cash, running an unorganized and unplanned fundraising operation is a recipe for stress, headaches, and ultimately financial ruin. So, how do you avoid this fate? Well, of course, the best way is by having a written fundraising plan. No matter how small your organization, church, or charity is, or how far along you are into your operations, your group needs a comprehensive, well-written fundraising plan. A written plan will allow you to focus your efforts, plan out your yearly fundraising calendar, and give you guidance on strategy and tactics when you are in the thick of events, mailings, and calls. In short, your fundraising plan, Joe says, will keep you sane in the insane day-to-day world of the development office. Your fundraising plan, who and when? The first questions you need to answer. Who should write your plan, and when should they write it? Joe says he answers the second question first. When should you write your plan? Now. Seriously, if you're operating without a plan, it is worth your time to sit down for a week and write your plan. Ideally, you'll write your plan every year, or maybe write a 2 or 3 year plan and tweak it at the beginning of every year. And recheck it mid-year, make sure you're on target. As for who should write your plan, if you've got a development staff, it's you, the development director. You should write the plan. Of course, consult with your ED, and once you get your plan together, you and your ED, then present it to your development board staff and make sure that everyone is in sync. So you can also, of course, seek help from a qualified development consultant, many of whom specialize in writing fundraising plans, like Joe from the Fundraising Authority who wrote this blog, and even Joy at Blockbuster Fundraising. What is the anatomy of a fundraising plan? All right, you know you need a plan. You're going to write. You know you're going to write it. You know that you've consulted with appropriate stakeholders. So what needs to be in the plan? What's a part of a plan? There are 4 parts to a good fundraising plan. The first is the goal. The best starting point for your plan is with the end point in mind. What is your overall fundraising goal? Even better, what is your overall fundraising goal for this year and for each of the next 4 years? This number should not be drawn out of thin air. It should be based on the needs of the organization. How much money will your group need to raise in order to carry out the activities that you want to carry out? This you'll work out carefully with your executive director because they know exactly what they want you to do because you've got to help make the budget deadlines. Okay, so now you've got your goal. That's the first part of the 4 different things you need in a fundraising plan. The second thing you need for a fundraising plan is the mission, your message. So if the goal answers the question, how much money do you need? Then the mission answers the question, why do you need it? What is your organization's mission? What do you plan to do with the money you raise? What is your operating budget? And why is it the amount it is? Good questions, right? You've got to answer those. You've got to know your mission. Third part of a great fundraising plan are your tactics. Once you know how much you need to raise and why you need to raise it, you'll need to figure out how you are going to raise the full amount. What tactics will you use to raise your goal amount this year, next year, the year after? This is where you really go into detail and figure out a goal for each of the tactics that adds up to your total goal. For example, if you only need to raise $5,000, you may say that you will raise $3,000 through a major donor group and $2,000 through an event. Okay, let's look at some of the common tactics that you will use to raise money. Individual giving. Asking major donors to make gifts to your organization, and major donor groups. This may include your board giving, a finance or a development committee. Thirdly, events, both large and small. Direct mail, a big player in the tactic area. Telemarketing you may or may not use, but a tactic that's very important are those personal gratitude thank you calls. Next tactic, online and e-giving, becoming more and more important in every decade. Next, grants with your foundations, corporate and government, very specialized area, and corporate giving programs. Another tactic that many nonprofits use is United Way fundraising. And other nonprofits use minor donor groups. Joe says, yes, they do exist. How about participatory fundraising, like walkathons and chili cook-offs? And last, but certainly not least, and probably I'd move to the very top of the list, is your annual giving and multi-year giving campaign. So when it comes to tactics, there are no shortage of ways to raise money. Only a limited amount of staff and volunteer resources to implement your ideas. So you want to try to include a good mix of fundraising tactics and be willing to nix the ideas that end up not working and make up the lost revenue elsewhere. And this is another perfect reason for a fundraising plan in place, because every board member you attend, you're going to have a board member that's maybe just returned from a great event or a vacation and they've seen something, say, we need to try this. So to have a fundraising plan in place is perfect. And if it's a good idea and you, for next year, plug it into your fundraising campaign. But with a fundraising plan in place, you're really protected as to revenue and your time and your staff limitations, okay? Speaking of time, that is the fourth very important part of a fundraising plan is your timeline. And Joe says many organizations stumble here. They come up with a solid budget and they have a great mission and they draw up a plan that includes a solid group of fundraising tactics. But guess what? They fail to set timelines and thus never seem to get things done. So some development pros like plans that have only basic timelines. For example, hold an event in May, send out a mailing in September, run a board giving campaign in November. Joe says that he actually prefers far more detailed timelines that list not only the big picture goals, but also all of the small goals that go into making that big goal a reality. He says that a management consultant might call this a critical path. For example, instead of just listing that we're having an event in April, Joe says, I would also list when decisions on the venue and the entertainment need to be made, when sponsors will be solicited, when invitations will go out, etc., etc. I totally agree. This must be in the timeline. And even with your mailings and your newsletters, you've got to know when the content has to be done, when it's going to go to the printer, when you want it in the mailbox. You get the gist. So whichever type of timeline that you include one. It will force you to think critically through your fundraising decisions and provide invaluable guidance on your activities as the year progresses. So this is just a great tidbit for fundraising planning, and also a great reminder to go in and check your fundraising plan right now. It's June. You've got 6 months left. Are you on target? Is everything working? Do you need to add something? Do you need whatever you need? Figure it out now. You've got 6 great months ahead of you. Now, let's look, since it's June and we've talked about checking in on your fundraising plan, making sure that everything is copacetic, let's talk about 7 ways to spruce up your marketing this summer, okay? We can take a look at your marketing plan. Because if you're like many nonprofits, summer is the time to recuperate from a busy spring and brace yourself for a chaotic giving season. It's kind of a big breather. So while you have a little room to breathe in your workload, why not put some strategies in place that will make your nonprofit's marketing more organized, easier to manage, and more effective? Perfect, right? Perfect summer plan. And you know what they say about planning. A little planning can go a long way. So this is what we can do right now to make a difference this summer in our marketing. So here are some marketing goals to set for yourself this summer that will make life easier and your communications hit closer to home for your supporters during the chaotic months that follow. We're going to give you 7 tasks, and they vary in the level of effort that it takes to get them in place, but all will have an impact on the results that your marketing can accomplish. So we've talked about the fundraising plan and the strategy. Now we're going to create a marketing strategy. So having a plan for your marketing makes your long-term goals and strategy possible, but so few nonprofits actually take the time to do it. So instead of scrambling as big annual events and giving days and year-end fundraisings draw near, why not work it into your strategy? The more time that you're able to spend on your campaigns and promotions, the better they will be. And your first strategy doesn't need to be so in-depth that it creates a roadmap for every marketing channel you use and every event or report you'd like to promote, although that would be great if you're pushing full steam ahead. But it could be as simple as a 1-page that outlines, 1, your organizational goals, marketing projects that will help achieve them, measurements, how you'll know if you've achieved them. You can always add to it as your goals change or you learn what's successful and what isn't. And you get bonus points for creating target audience personas to get more strategic about who you're talking to and their specific goals and challenges. Now, next, for your marketing plan, organize your email list. So if you're still sending every email to every supporter on your list, you're doing it wrong. Instead, segment a big master list by breaking it up into different groups that represent your audiences. Segmentation allows for more targeted communications. We know this. It's so important. So To start, sort your master list into groups that correspond with target audiences. Those groups could be volunteers, donors, new email subscriber, program participants, or whatever makes the most sense for your organization. Imagine this. You'll be able to send appeals for volunteers to your group of volunteers and an email on the impact that a recent fundraising campaign achieved to that particular group of donors. That's perfect, and that's personalized, and it's what you need to be doing. You can then use those segments to build better relationships with supporters, because they feel the warm fuzzies. They believe that email is just for them, because it is. For example, you might set up email automations for new subscribers. You definitely should. That new welcome packet. And build stronger relationships with your volunteers. Your volunteers are like gold. And as you get more comfortable, you can definitely get more personal. The sky's the limit. So you need to personalize and segment your email list, your donor list. Okay? Now, what you really want to do too in your marketing plan is you want to measure progress toward your goals. Your nonprofit has goals that you're actively working on right now in your fundraising plan. But how do you know if what you're doing is effective? If you're not looking at your data. If you're not looking at your data, you don't know. So, summer is the perfect time to do a 6-month review of your online marketing. And it's completely within your power to pull key points of data from your website in order to make more strategic online marketing decisions. So, if your website is properly integrated with Google Analytics, and I hope it is, there is an abundance of data waiting for you, okay? And to get started, you can create dashboards within Google Analytics that easily display and connect the data that you care about most. So through these dashboards, you can get insights on who visited your website, where they came from, which pages they visited, and the actions they took. And you can then use that information to inform new strategies that drive more visitors to complete more desired actions on your site. I cannot tell you how important I think this is. You need to take the time to be linked up, to have your website pages linked up with Google Analytics and understand what is happening, because it's going to help you make wonderful decisions. All right, next thing you can do this summer for a marketing plan is create an editorial calendar. Editorial calendars outline your nonprofit's communications based on topic, author, timing, and any other helpful variables that can determine how the content is produced and shared. And when it comes to your nonprofit blog, a strategic document like this serves as a brainstorm list of potential upcoming topics that are related to your mission, supporters, activities, and impact, plus where those topics are in your content creation process. So you want to create a simple and flexible document that details key information about the content, but it is also easy for your team to use and share. Learn more about creating an editorial calendar and download an easy-to-manage template to get started mapping out for the rest of the year. There are so many of these available online, and they make your content marketing so efficient and really so much better. All right, here is an important part of your marketing plan this summer. Collect stories. Real-life stories make for effective fundraising, but there are lots of uses for stories in your nonprofit website content. and really all of your communications. Stories convey impact better than any other method, with a face and an emotional connection that carries. So while you have some free time this summer, think about building up your story bank so that you can easily pull from it for different appeals, impact reports, blog posts, website content, and other communications throughout the year. To start, come up with a process for collecting stories that considers your different audiences and all that your nonprofit accomplishes. This could be as simple as letting your staff know that you need testimonials and designating a point person for them to send those stories to. You can then start gathering a variety of different types of stories. I can't tell you how important I think this is. Everyone that I work with, all my different nonprofits, I say, gather your stories. Gather these wonderful stories so you can share these with your donors. You might have stories from people that are helping, program participants, donors, volunteers, event attendees, staff members, board members. Perfect. Get your stories. All right. What can you do this summer as a part of your great marketing plan here? How about this? Start a social media ambassador program. Hey, like any area of nonprofit marketing, social media takes a lot of time and effort to be really effective. But what if you could provide supporters with the tools to take on some of the heavy lifting when it comes to spreading the word via social media? A social media ambassador program gets supporters involved with your nonprofit by agreeing to donate their voice. Of course, you'll need to create some initial content and make sure that you're available to provide any ongoing guidance as they share your mission and their personal connection to your cause. Well, if you don't have an ambassador program, you can see how to add one to your social media strategy. If you already have a social media ambassador, check out ways to improve and strengthen your program. A lot of this is available online with social media plans. All right, this summer, what else can you do to add to your marketing plan? Refresh your website content. What a great time. When was the last time you reviewed the content on your site? Can you be sure it's even still accurate, much less moving visitors through your site towards the action that you'd like them to complete? We check our sites, try to check our sites at least once a week, and we're always amazed at how many different things that we have to refresh and make sure are working right. And if you're seeing stagnant goal completions on your website, like donations and volunteer signups and new members and email subscribers, old or ineffective content could be to blame. Got to get your new, compelling, heartfelt stories up there. Get some new action. All right, so there is a lot of beginner's guides to nonprofit website content out there. And sometimes getting started is the hardest part of content creation. So check out a free beginner's guide to learn things like why great content matters, how to plan and format your content, and how to create content that your supporters will actually read. I'll give you a link to that, kind of a guide, okay? Essential web page content for nonprofits. To make improvements to key pages on your website, web page content guides provide approaches, tips, and content ideas for pages like About Us, and from what I've read, the About page gets more action than almost any other page on your website. And your Impact, Get Involved, and Donate pages. and these guides give you tips based on best practices that they've seen work wonders for lots of different nonprofits. So we'll give you that link. And so you really want to check out all these goals and ideas and tactics for a great marketing updo makeover this summer. You've got the time right now. These are great options that have been shown to make real impact for the effectiveness of nonprofit marketing. But in the end, you know a lot more about what's going on in your organization and what has the largest impact. So you can make decisions that are right for you, and we're just hoping that this gives a little boost to some summer makeover ideas for you. Hey, Joy Olson, blockbusterfundraising.com, joyolsongroup.com, both places you can find out lots more information on our YouTube fundraising, free fundraising tips, over 300 videos, lots of great advice that we pull in from current sources, valuable studies, relevant information to help inspire you to a fundraising greatness. So remember, we go live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Thanks for having been here today. Here's to you, your great fundraising efforts, and a super fundraising plan. Bye-bye.